Hey y'all, I am making chocolate chip cookies, but they're not just chocolate chip cookies because I add a lot of add-ins, and recently I added vanilla pudding mix to my cookies, and that just took it to the next level. I mean, wow. So I've been making my chocolate chip cookies for years, and I always add different ingredients in there, and the kids just love it. So I have 2 sticks of butter, which is 1 cup of butter, and I have 3/4 of a cup brown sugar and 1/4 of a cup white sugar. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put our paddle on here, and we're going to mix this for 3 minutes. And you can't skip this 3-minute step. Let me plug this in because this is important. So 3 minutes. I'm going to beat this on high. 3 minutes, and we'll be right back. All right, timer went off. Look how light and fluffy this is. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to scrape the sides down. Get the sides scraped down. So fluffy. But you have to do it for 3 minutes. Don't skip that step or you won't get that light, fluffy cookie. All right, now I'm going to add 2 eggs, farm fresh eggs. Get all that in there. And then I'm going to add 1 package of vanilla pudding mix. This is what just brought my chocolate chip cookies to the next level. I'm not kidding you. Creamy, soft. All right, now we're going to add a teaspoon of, I have some vanilla, just a teaspoon. I'm going to add a little more. There. And now we're going to mix this again for another 3 minutes. I'm telling y'all are going to love these cookies. Put it down, lock it on high, 3 minutes. I'll be right back. All right, timer went off. It is so creamy, so creamy. All right, now we're going to add some dry ingredients. I'm going to add a teaspoon of some baking powder. Sprinkle it all around in there. And then I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of some salt. I'm using kosher salt, just a 1/2 teaspoon. And then I have 2 1/4 cups of regular all-purpose flour. And sprinkle all that in there. And now I'm going to scrape the edges real quick. Try to cover some of that flour so I tend to get flour showers all over me. We'll start out slow. All right, now we're going to just combine this. We don't have to go 3 minutes. We're just going to combine. I don't want a flour shower. Slow. Usually you add 1 cup at a time, but I added it all. All right, now we're gonna kick it up a little bit, let it go for a few seconds. All right, I'm gonna scrape the sides real quick just to get all that flour in there. And churn it just for a few more minutes, seconds. All right, now this is where I start adding the goodies. I'm gonna add, I have some fresh pecans, and I'm gonna add around maybe a 1/2 cup, maybe a cup. And these are whole, so I'm going to turn it on high and it'll kind of break these pecans up. It kind of breaks them up. Alrighty. I'm going to scrape the sides again. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of chocolate chips. And I'm going to add 1 cup of Mini M&Ms. Look at that, just a cup. A little under a cup, that's okay. Now I'm going to mix these on low just to combine them. Look how creamy and dreamy that is. All right, I got my oven preheated on 350 and I have 2 cookie sheets lined with parchment paper. And I use this really large ice cream scoop. I think it's like a 1/4 cup. If you don't have one of these, you can go ahead and use a 1/4 of a cup. But this makes beautiful sized cookies. All right, let's get started. I put it on there, pack it in there, and there it is. And I know a lot of ovens vary with the times, and these will bake usually 13 to 15 minutes, and I'm cooking 2 trays at once, so they cook a little slower that way. And I'm going to load these trays up, pop them in the oven, and I'll put 5 on each tray. I'm going to move this baby down a little bit, right there. All right, I'm going to get the other tray loaded up. I'm going to pop them in the oven. I'm going to set my timer probably 14 minutes, and then we'll be right back. All right, timer went off. See, look how beautiful these are. And you want to pull them out when they're slightly brown on the edges. So I'm going to let these cool off on this cookie sheet for like 2 minutes. And then I'll put them on the cooling rack. Look at these. They're big. They're puffy. They're beautiful. When you mix them for those 3 minutes with the butter and the sugars, and then with the pudding mix, those 3 minutes really make a difference. So when these cookies are done cooling off, I'll open one and then I'll show you what the inside looks like. Alrighty, all the cookies are done. It made 18 cookies. And look how large that is. It takes the whole palm of my hand. My son's already eaten 2. I had half of one. I'm going to show you the inside looks like. They're just soft and creamy. It's not a hard, crunchy cookie. And when you store these, store them in an airtight container. That way they'll stay nice and soft and moist. I hope y'all give this recipe a try, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.